The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
Here we go, Talkin' Buds Leaf Show, episode 265. Getting my coffee all set up here, ready to go. How are you doing?
Another Sunday morning.
How are you doing? I feel like today could get crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, you were sending me some fiery text messages last night about a certain player in a Maple Leaf uniform. And I was going, here comes the monthly like freak out about a star player where you're just kind of like fed up with their shtick a little bit.
Yeah, I'm fed up. Yeah, I mean, but then they go out and they produce points, right? So I want to park that particular argument for a second, and I want to pick up on something that we left off on last week, and look no further than the Saturday night win against the Edmonton Oilers, a game in which the Leafs won 4-3, had a 3-goal lead at one point in the game, and you come away from that and you think to yourself, Joe Woll just stole them that game. And going into the game, there was all this talk about how, they've lost 6 of 9, and it's just the vibe for the last couple of weeks around this team hasn't been great. And I just want to pick up, like I said, on what I was saying last week, where once again, you get another elite goaltending performance. And at no point in this entire era has this goaltending been as good as it is right now. And Brad Treliving has to me, this is an all-in season now. Like, I've completely changed. This is an all-in season. As I've said, you look around the division, you look around the conference, it's an all-in season. You got to go and get something to bolster your lineup. And I don't care who, quite frankly, I don't give a shit who you, as long as it's not Stolars or Woll, who you send the other way. Quite frankly, I don't. It's like, the vibes are no good. The superstars run the team. When they play well, they win. When they don't, nobody else can pick up the slack unless it's Bobby McMahon or Matthew Knies. We're in this thing with Craig Berube where at stretches they look completely lost and uninterested and are losing battles all over the place, yet we still absolutely will not split up Matthews and Marner. We won't even consider trying it. It's like the only time we do it is when we're down like 5-1 and it's garbage time, so we can kind of quietly do it and no one will say anything. I guess what I'm trying to say here in a sort of ranty way off the top is I think this team needs a shot in the arm. It's like, yes, it's great that they got the W on Saturday night in Edmonton. Love beating the Oilers, but look at the division. You wanted to comment on the state of the division. Like, look at the division.
Yeah, they've pissed away the division. There's no two ways about it. Like, it's amazing what just a bad stretch of hockey can do to your point buffer. Like, I was feeling pretty good about earlier in the season. I said there's no way they could win this division, and then they just kept winning and getting points, and no one else was really catching up. And then they go on a bad streak, and you're looking at it, and you're like, the fucking Ottawa Senators are 4 points behind them, and there's no games in hand. There's nothing. They've really just with injuries and just shoddy defensive play, they've really kind of pissed away their lead in the division here.
Trouble scoring, Ryan. Like, trouble scoring.
Yeah.
Like,
they didn't score for what 5.5 periods? Like, from Saturday to Wednesday? From Ottawa to Minnesota? Like, they just couldn't. You take a couple guys out of the lineup, and there's just zero offense. They can't score, and it's not looking pretty good.
Well, the mix. Like, you're still in the mix, okay? Like, yes, they've pissed away their point buffer they had with the division, but you're still in the mix. It's still there, and like I said, you have the goaltending to get you there. You can still win this division. Your goaltending is good enough, like, full stop. And I'm also at the point now, too, go and get the best player available and do whatever you do, whether it's a forward, whether it's a defenseman, I don't know. This team needs someone to come in here and change up the dynamic of the way Berube deploys them, everything. I was really disappointed to see that the Vegas Golden Knights snatched up Brandon Saad as quickly as they did, because I was like, there's a guy who got like 25 goals or something last year, and they could have got him on the cheap after he sort of parted ways with the Blues, but leave it to the Vegas Golden Knights to be the savages that they are and snatch the guy up. But I just this is where I'm at today. Like, I'm almost at a loss. I'm watching them. I'm like, it feels like we're just kind of plugging along here, and we're going to end up finishing second or third in the division again. And it's going to be, they're going to go into another like first round against someone from the Atlantic. And I don't feel great, Ryan. I don't feel great at this point in time sitting here talking to you.
Well, I'm kind of sick and tired of hearing about like shots in the arm and just finding ways to like bolster this group. It's like, shouldn't this group be bolstered enough already? Like, you talk about this season's an all-in season, but you look at the cap projections that just were thrown out this week of how much it's going up over the next couple of years. And to me, I'm almost thinking like, here's your excuse to re-sign Mitch Marner and to kick the can further down the road and make the argument that maybe this isn't the year that they go all in, because if you just wait a couple of years, you could have all these guys signed under their big deals, and then you'll have additional wiggle room to finally bolster this team. And also, like, winning the division, I just think if this team's really good enough, they should be able to win this division, especially this season. But even if they don't, like, at some point, again, every single year, at some point, you have to beat a quality team in the playoffs to get anywhere. Like, that's just like, how are you supposed to win anything if you can't if you're just hoping to play a less quality team in the first round? Like, I'm sick of that excuse. Like, at some point, you got to beat a fucking quality team in the playoffs.
If you go back and look at their schedule over the last couple of weeks, right? Like, you take out like the last 10 games, say, like, you look at, like, take out the Tampa Bay game on January 20th. They haven't looked great in any of these games, Ryan. Like, they haven't looked great in any of them. Like, they've had stretches where, like, they started slow against the Habs, went down 3-0, came storming back and scored 7 unanswered. Amazing. But you still had the first period of that game where it was one of your worst periods of the season. The game they played on Wednesday night, this past Wednesday, against the Minnesota Wild, just another, you're playing a quality playoff-level opponent who's playing a structured, tight-checking game, and you're rendered complete. Like, your offense is nullified. Like, your offense is nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah, they really struggle against that team. That's a team that would just, they just shut them down completely.
But it's like, it's a combination of, there's a couple things here. I want to start with Craig Berube, okay? Because I see a lot of people, I mentioned this last week and I want to hit on it again. There's a lot of people who I think are blaming the lack of offense most nights here on the Berube system. It's his system. And I made the argument, I don't care who's behind the Oiler bench, McDavid and Draisaitl are going to produce. And what system that coach is preaching, McDavid and Draisaitl are going to produce. That's what you expect from your star players, okay? So I don't want to hear that it's the Craig Berube system. The fact that Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews can't break through Joel Eriksson-Ek has nothing to do with fucking Craig Berube's system, okay? We've seen it umpteen times. You made the hilarious joke a few weeks ago about the upcoming Four Nations where it's like Canada just has to stick their best checking centerman on Austin Matthews and he'll be a non-factor. It's like, you see that a lot of nights. Now, on the other side of that coin, I have been very pro Berube. We know that. Like, I've rarely criticized Craig Berube this season, okay? Couple things he absolutely deserves criticism for. The power play, and they got a couple. Did they get 1 or 2 against the Oilers? It was just the one. It was just the Knies goal. Yeah, it was just the Knies goal. So that's great, but the power play pretty much all season has been brutal, and little to no adjustments made, little to no... Like, you just watch the way the Oilers whip the puck around and the authority with which they do it and the confidence.
The McMahon goal was on the power play, too. So they got 2
that's
last
what
night.
I thought. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah, it was Riley actually finally throwing it on the net and somebody
Yes,
banging
yes,
in a
yes.
rebound.
Yes, I was like, I'm pretty sure there were 2 power play goals. You look at the way the Oilers move it around, the authority with which they do it, the confidence with which they do it, and it's just not the same. So Berube, absolutely, he's the head coach. He absolutely deserves to eat the shit for the state of the power play. And once again, there's just no scenario where we can split up Austin Matthews and Mitchell. He's worse with keeping these two together than Sheldon Keefe was.
Yeah.
Like I did not see that coming, and he was brought in here to be Mr. Accountability. These guys, Austin Matthews in the first period of the game last night, turned the puck over 3 separate times. Okay, doesn't miss a shift. Mitch Marner, same thing. And I know some hero in the comments is going to be like, you really want to bench your best players? It's like, yeah, they can miss a shift here and there to get the message, like, not good enough. You're no different than the third line that didn't see much of the third period last night after Nick Robertson got hurt. Like, you're no different from them. Right?
Yeah.
This is, so if you want to hurl criticisms at Berube, I think those are absolutely valid. You lose me a bit on Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner can't penetrate the middle of the ice because of a system. It's like, no, I'm sorry. I'm not bought into that at all.
You know what? All season, if you've been paying attention to this podcast, I haven't really said anything about the Craig Berube system because I got a take for you, man. I don't see any system. What's the system they're playing? I think in October and November, they looked like a forechecking team that was committed to trying something different. But I'm going to be honest, the last 2 months, it looks like the same old Maple Leaf hockey to me. Maybe they're more committed to blocking shots and they are more committed to being a little more physical. But I don't see a difference in their system. I really don't. I think they're playing the exact same game. We're just hoping William Nylander could break away on a power play goal. We're just praying that someone on the third line can chip in with offense. The top line is shut down easily, like it always is when a team decides they just want to check them hard. And but the biggest difference with their team and the reason why they won the game last night, the difference in the game last night is their goaltending. What? I'm sorry. I don't see, I was stoked for Berube to come in here and replace Keefe because it was just time to go. And with Berube, you were kind of sold this bill of goods about accountability and north-south hockey and forechecking and this and that. And honestly, man, I don't see a difference. I really don't. I don't see a difference.
I'm the one who's been saying I hate their defensive game for the last month and a half.
Yeah, I really don't. And it's just this is they're getting outshot pretty much every single night now. It's just, they're kind of back to, we're going to try and get breakaways with William Nylander. And just, if McMahon chips in and Knies chips in, we're probably going to win because that's our depth scoring. But again, just the way this team is put together, the way the salary cap is put together, when Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner can't penetrate the middle of the ice, you have to rely on Nylander breakaways or Matthew Knies and Bobby McMahon chipping in with offense. I don't see a north-south game. I see a team that is capitalizing on scoring chances relying on good goaltending.
You said earlier, and I agree, you saw it in the first month and a half, 2 months, and then it's just gone out the window.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
And you're right. And the problem with the accountability thing is the problem with this whole franchise, the problem with this team. It's I would love to see accountability. I would love to see Berube going after a guy or missing some ice time. But at the end of the day, the guy replacing him is Pontus Holmberg. So you're hamstrung. You can't do anything because if you sit your top players, then you really don't have a chance to score. And that's the problem with this team since day one. It's just the way they're constructed. Sometimes it's great because they're all firing on all cylinders. They're all elite players, but there's just too many holes in their game that just show up over time, and it's just.
And I think we've started this episode really sort of just venting here, and so I think the point we're trying to make is there's clearly issues, but I don't see anything being done about them. in the sense that like Berube's running the same lineup for the most part out there every night. Like we won't split up Matthews and Marner. There's no accountability. We won't try a different look on the power play. We won't it, like this is why I'm kind of sitting here going like what like it's not working. Craig, it's not working. It hasn't been working for a while. Matthews and Marner, they float in and out. They have periods where they look like the vintage Matthews and Marner, and then they have periods where they're a minus and they're a defensive liability, and it's just split them up, man. Like try something different. And for the love of God, Brad, get someone to add to this room, to add to this roster. This team desperately needs it because even though you and I think more than any other podcast and more than most people who cover this team, I feel like a lot of people, the default is to let the star players off the hook and to look at the lineup and go, Pontus Holmberg and Bobby McMahon and David Kampf and Nick Robertson and Max Domi and you and I are always like, no, like this team. We're not letting the star players off the hook. No. Having said that, David Kampf, Pontus Holmberg.
Yeah.
Like what it's not good enough. It's not there's no difference maker.
And I when I saw the cap projections, I was like obviously stoked. It's like about time that there's a massive jump here. We've been dealing. This was the excuse of why they couldn't of the Tavares contract. This was the excuse of why they couldn't add to this group for years because of COVID. And yeah, that was an unfortunate circumstance, and that was a real thing. But I saw that, and I was like, this is an excuse waiting to come across this conversation on this podcast at some point. It's going to be, well, now we have room to add. If we just this window is going to extend because of Austin Matthews' contract. That's the window, right? So. Yeah. Like, to me, it's just an excuse of them just getting bounced in the first round again, re-signing Marner and going, well, when the cap jumps, then they can start adding the players that they need. And it's just, I think just the bottom line is it's just concerning heading into the playoffs. Like, some nights, because you think about all those losses, like they come out in the media after the games, like the margins are thin. You kind of roll your eyes, but it is true. Every single year they get to the end and the margin is very thin that they just can't get it done. They can't get a depth scoring guy to chip in a goal. The star players can't score a big goal when it matters. They can't get a save when it matters. And it's just, those thoughts are creeping back in with this like lack of system I'm seeing on a nightly basis now. And it's just those negative thoughts are starting to creep back into my mind that maybe they're still just not good enough. Which is why I'm sitting here pleading with Brad Treliving to like give these guys a shot in the arm. It's just sometimes I think that room needs a shakeup. Like Austin Matthews, after they lost on Wednesday, said something to the effect about like he was looking forward to the road trip to like get, and maybe I'm like reading too much into this, but he was like something along the lines of he was looking forward to the road trip so they could like get out and away and like be together as a like sort of insinuating that like they need to come closer together as a locker room, which is hilarious because anytime there's any adversity, all these guys do is fucking tell you up, down, and left how much they love each other. And we know we've got talent in that room. But it's just, it's got to a point where it's stale a bit. It's been stale now for the last 10 games. I think everybody who isn't playing in the Four Nations is going to really enjoy getting away for getting an 8-day break in the middle of the season is pretty substantial. Yeah. So I think that'll help everybody get away and sort of recharge their batteries a bit. But something's got to give here because they've stumbled. They've as you said, they've pissed away their lead. They're going to stumble to the end. The Senators are rocking. The Panthers aren't going anywhere. Like, we're going to end up with a 2-3 matchup against the Ottawa Senators in the first round of the playoffs here is what's going to happen. A team that always plays this Leaf team tough. Always. This ain't the little itty-bitty teeny tiny bowl. This is Super Bowl 59. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. Scoring touchdowns is the key to hoisting the Vince Lombardi trophy, and you have a shot to score big by betting on them at DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
I also had a couple thoughts during that Oiler game. Number one, the way the Edmonton Oilers move the puck around in the offensive zone, the Maple Leafs
hit on this.
Wish that they could do
I know.
that. Just
It's super noticeable, man.
Just the way they like slung the biscuit around, the speed that they did it, the way it generates chances. Bouchard, I know he's kind of shoddy defensively, and there's always like memes online kind of chirping him. The guy's got an absolute weapon from the point. It's such a weapon. Like that was a big difference. Number two, even though they are struggling and I don't love their game, noticing the difference of everybody coming back healthy is
Yes.
It is a big difference. So if you were to cut them some slack during that time where they weren't playing well, when John Tavares is out of this lineup, like it is not good. When Matthew Knies is out of this lineup, like it is not good. No. Like it to me, it made a massive difference for them coming back, even though they didn't play that well. It helps them be able to make that one play that they need to make in order to like win a game.
There is a significant step down from John Tavares to fucking Pontus Holmberg as your second line center.
Yes, and I know John Tavares is overpaid in his contract or whatever, but when he's in the lineup, it makes a absolute massive difference. And just offensively, I thought he even played okay defensively. Like I know he played against McDavid most of the night, and McDavid had like 100 shots on net, but he still didn't score. So like to me, I heard some rumblings that maybe they're being a little more lenient with guys like taking a little bit more time when they're injured, in this like theory that they're trying to get guys healthy for the playoffs. And I can kind of understand that, because when they all did come back, like it does give them a little bit of that jump that they need in order to put a puck in the net. So that's very important. And then number three is, I don't understand how Bobby McMahon had to travel all over the world and fight so hard to be an NHLer. I don't get it. How you watch that goal he scored last night, and just like the hands just to pull it to the backhand and go like bar down a little backhand up top. You watch his ability to, like, he's borderline elite scoring ability. The way he can just find a loose puck, the way he can just bury a shot when he gets a chance. And I got to give Brad Treliving credit for signing this guy to an extremely affordable contract for the next 2 seasons.
Yeah,
because you watch him play and you start to question like scouting abilities around the league. Like, how did this guy take so long to get to the National Hockey League when he has the ability to, like, when he scores, like the fact that he wasn't in the playoffs last season, like that was a huge loss for them. Like he's arguably their biggest X factor in being able to. He's the guy who's going to be able to score that goal when you really need it. So I was watching him.
Sure underrated that at the time. Like when we were covering that series last year, we didn't talk about that enough, about like how big of a loss that was. Dude, they are a huge narrative that you and I have like slammed our head against the wall about all year with the media's depth scoring. The depth scoring on this team is Matt Knies and Bobby McMahon. That's it. That's the outside of the core four. The only other 2 guys who score goals for this team on a semi-regular basis is Matt Knies and Bobby McMahon. That's it.
Yeah. I don't know what. I didn't watch Bobby McMahon play in the ECHL. I didn't watch him play in the AHL. I didn't watch him play wherever he played in order to get here. But I just watching him. It's like, how did this guy who is going to be such an important player for them going forward for as long as he's here take so fucking long to get to the NHL? I really don't understand because like that goal he scored last night, like the Pontus Holmberg can't score that goal. Like, no, it's borderline elite scoring ability. So it just kind of blows my mind. So I got to give Brad credit for getting him under a deal for the next couple of years.
I want to hit on Matt Knies because we were ranting earlier about Matthews and Marner against like a Joel Eriksson Ek and how much they struggle getting to the middle of the ice. And in the last several years, we've seen the carousel of wingers. Basically, since Hyman left, we've seen the carousel of wingers with those two. And to me, Matt Knies is the best fit they've ever had just because he's a guy that, unlike those two, is willing to go to the dirty areas and get to the middle of the ice and take a cross check in the back and do whatever. And that's why he has so many goals this season, because he will go where those two are not always willing to go. And he's there to look at most of his goals this year. Like, yeah, he scored the occasional beauty, but like most of the goals this year, it's him in front of the net whacking in a rebound or like stick handling it to the side and tucking it home.
Yeah, he's very JVR.
Yes, great.
Yeah.
Oh, and kind of like a more physical version of JVR.
Yeah.
Like JVR wasn't the physical presence that Matt Knies. Like Matt Knies, I've called Matt Knies a Clydesdale. The guy's an absolute fucking horse. Like,
yeah,
JVR didn't have that aspect. Matt Knies, to me, it's like, God, this guy is so valuable because they put Bobby McMahon up on that top line while he's out. And while we love Bobby McMahon, you just sang his praises. He's a little bit more of that finesse style that like Matthews and Marner are. So when you play a team like the Minnesota Wild, who is keeping you to the outside, it's not his game to get to the middle. It's just Knies is so important in their top six. It cannot be understated how important he is in their top six.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we were a little bit negative off the top, but if we're going to try to get a little more positive streak here, talking about McMahon and now Knies, I think Matthew Knies is just an incredible story for this team. The fact that, when did they ever draft a guy in like the second round and he's in college and there's hype because of size, but you also hear about the skating ability isn't great. He's never been a prolific goal scorer, what I've talked about endlessly on this podcast this year. And he has exceeded expectations and has become the player that everybody hoped that he would become. And I don't think it was as probable as it seems like it's been to this point. Like there was obstacles of him. Like how did so many guys get drafted ahead of him? Like I would love to see. I got to pull up the list at some point and see all the dudes who were drafted ahead of him, because he has become everything that fans and the franchise hope he would become. And he was a second round pick. He wasn't taken early. A lot of guys taken ahead of him, and he's had a fantastic year and he keeps scoring. And when he's out of the lineup, you really feel it.
100%. You really feel it. And it took, that's all I kept thinking watching the Oiler game on Saturday night. I was just like, this guy he's the best. I would say he's even better than Hyman was on that, because Hyman wasn't the player at the time that he's gone on to become with the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah. Yeah, Hyman just had some other intangibles maybe, but yeah, in terms of, I mean, Mike Bunning did a pretty good job, but it's... he is so young, Ryan. And another thing with the cap going up, they're going to pay him and he's going to stay. Like, you're right. Like, to draft a guy in a second round to become like a vital part of your top six never happens to this and it's also just the hype train that gets attached to any Maple Leaf draft
prospect.
pick.
Yeah.
That just never like pans out. And it's honestly, it's unfair expectation. We just need a guy to fill a role, and we're just hoping that the guy we drafted could fill that role. But it doesn't mean that he can actually do it or he's capable of doing it. So the fact that he's actually been able to step in and have the ability to fill the role is just fucking amazing. I love it.
They lose OEL last night to injury. When you were talking there, I was kind of scrolling up and down Twitter to see if there was any sort of update on that. I don't see one in terms of like what it is and how long it's going to be. I think you and I are not in the business of making excuses, but like they get everyone back and now OEL's out. Nick Robertson left the game. last night in Edmonton. It's like, this has been I don't remember a year in this era where they have dealt with like consistent injury problems like they have this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can also make a decision on, like I think they're gonna have to beat a good team at some point in the playoffs. Like, I know winning the division has always been like, they've always been a good regular season team, but they've never won the division. I think that would be an accomplishment for them. But I mean, you look up and down the standings, you're not going to get an easy matchup no matter where you are. Like right now, they're playing the Ottawa Senators, and if they were in the top spot, they'd be playing the Columbus Blue Jackets, and you might laugh at that, but Columbus,
the Blue Jackets just whooped them last week.
They've beat them in the playoff series already.
Yes.
And I know that was a different kind of era, but at the end of the day, the Columbus Blue Jackets have a playoff series victory over the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's you might laugh at that right now, but there is no easy. I think the only team that they've proven that they can beat in a playoff series is the Tampa Bay Lightning, because that's the only team they've beaten in a playoff series, and it's the only team they consistently beat in the regular season. So I think seeing the difference of everyone being healthy, I don't mind that they take their time and make sure guys are healthy, because you don't want a McMahon going down before the playoffs. Even during the playoffs when Matthews was hurt and then Nylander was hurt, but he was at his house with his buddies. Like it's just, still don't understand that. Still don't understand how you have a migraine, but yet you have friends at your house and all the lights are on and you're cheering. But it's like they got to, I think they still have like kind of a buffer here to like chill a little bit, but I don't know. You look behind them, like Tampa Bay is only 6 points behind. They got to be careful, but they also got to make sure that they're healthy going into the playoffs.
Got to stop these 3-game losers, man. Pretty much two. It's like they lost 3 in a row, they won 3 in a row, they lost 3 in a row. Like they got to stop this. You got to stop it.
Well, another thing I'm worried about too is they need Anthony Stolarz back, because Joe Woll is breaking his, like, at this point I wouldn't be surprised if he got hurt, because the amount of work he has to do and the amount of acrobatic saves he has to make. Like that save, it wasn't just the second save on Perry to end the game. It was the first save where he came so far out of his net and just kind of threw his chest at that point shot.
They showed a highlight reel on the post game last night. I'm not kidding. There were 6 to 7 elite 10-bell saves that he made in that game.
Yeah.
6 to 7. What? I want to get out of here on this, because I've been ranting about it, and I want your perspective on it. What is wrong defensively? Because, yes, when you watch them, they appear as though they're playing with structure. They block a lot of shots. But why are their goaltenders required to make these high-end elite saves on a nightly basis? They give up a lot of high-danger chances.
I think it's just everything. I think it'd be tough to point at one single thing. First of all, I think everybody just needs to be committed to playing whatever system that they need to play or that's being implemented, because I don't see a system. I really don't.
Yeah. You see a bunch of running around.
I was sold this bill of goods of a system, and I haven't seen a system since November. And we know they're the November goats, so it's just... Yeah. So was it even a system, or were they just playing their regular November hockey? Like
is it the same thing we say every year, and everybody says every year, where like for whatever reason the Leafs play their best hockey in October, November, and the rest of the league slowly ramps up and starts playing their best hockey in like Feb, March, April to get ready for the playoffs?
Yeah, it's to me it's a commitment from every single guy on the ice. I would like to blame defensemen, I would like to blame forwards, but I think it's just all around everybody's commitment to do what they need to do to be in the right positions to get the puck out of the zone. Like, and I think the one thing I am noticing about them against other good teams is they're I remember back in the day where they were just touted as like the fastest team in the NHL.
Yeah.
When Kasperi Kapanen was wheeling all over the ice, and they were just like the fastest team in the NHL. They are not anymore. Yeah, they don't skate very well.
The difference in speed between them and the Oilers was striking. Also, Kyprios hits on this all the time, and we've talked about it a little bit with the Oilers on the power play. This team is terrible at passing the puck. Terrible.
Yeah. Yep.
Terrible at passing the puck. A whole reason why they have trouble gaining the zone on a power play is because they all stink at passing. And it's the elite guys, too. And it's like it's like the pass itself from a skill perspective is not good, but also it's very indecisive. Like a forward, it could be anyone. It could be Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Domi, anyone. They get the puck in their zone and they start to break out. It's like there's no sort of set plan. Either somebody's not in position for them to pass it to, or they don't know where they're going with it. And you just don't see that with other elite teams. You see like crisp, clean breakouts that look like they've been practiced 1,000 times, and you just don't see that. It's like, it's almost as if offensively they're sort of given this blank canvas to like create, but then they get out there, and because there's no plan, it's just a lot of like making it up as they go, if that makes sense.
And let's not forget that one of the things that helps your defensive structure or helps keep the shot total down is offensive zone time. Like, let's stop. They're back to one and done offense. What happened to cycling the puck and keeping the puck down in the O zone and just like, that's also going to help your goaltender. That's also going to help your defenseman. Like, you need to, I thought that was the system to like dump the puck in, forecheck, and cycle the puck around and get points and shots from the point. Like, what happened to that? It's just, but it's right now their game is a William Nylander breakaway. Like that's their game. Like they don't. What happened to this forechecking north south? We're gonna control the puck. Like, they just don't have enough time in the O zone to like keep the puck out of their D zone. Like, that's also a factor.
I'm sorry to point at the two big boys on the top line, but if I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. They don't want to play that way. Like, the Berube came in, it was all kumbaya, and everybody bought in, and Matthews got hurt, and Marner took over, and yay, it was all great, right? But now it's like Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner do not want to play that way. They do not want to forecheck aggressively. They want to come over the opposing team's blue line. They want to feather a beauty sauce, and they want to tuck it home. That's what they want to do. And like I said last week, when you come up against a Joel Eriksson-Ek who's doing an effective job shutting you down, if anything, they don't adjust their game. They try harder. Mitch Marner starts trying harder.
Yeah. No, it's true. And like, when I look at, like you said, that this might be an all-in year, I think they're two pieces away from doing anything, really. I think I just think, Ryan,
I think it's a shame to waste your goaltending. I think...
Yeah. Well, you could say that their goaltending is going to be sticking around, though. Like, it's not like this is the last year.
There's just
of
something magic about them there. Maybe I'm being like too fantasy land, but like,
you're getting caught in the moment in the season.
Yeah, there's just something magic about these two guys this year. Like, they're both of them have been excellent. Like, they're both like, this is the same. If Stolarz comes back and is able to get back to the level he was before he got hurt, this is the equivalent of what Swayman and Allmark were for the Bruins. Yeah. Like, two legit number one guys. And you can't go wrong with either option. They've never had this.
Yeah, my
last
biggest...
year they had Ilya Samsonov, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, it's true. I just think they're two pieces away, man. I think they either got to... Like, Max Domi needs to be replaced. Like, for what he's supposed to do, he's not providing anything. I think they need another impact forward, and I'm sure every other team in the league does as well. And I think I love Chris Tanev, and he's one of the best free agent signings they've ever had. And I think he's had an incredible year, and the amount of time that guy has to work under duress in his own zone is unfair. He shouldn't have to be working as hard as he is. They should not have the puck down in their own zone as much as they do. But God damn it, this team needs an elite defenseman. They are just missing an elite defenseman. Last night, they were getting hemmed in their own zone. And how nice would it be just to have that top tier, top dog back there to take the puck off somebody's stick and skate it out of the zone or make an incredible pass. I honestly think this team cannot win anything without a serious upgrade of a top defenseman. I really don't. I really think they need it. I think asking Jake McCabe and Chris Tanev to play 4 rounds of hard hockey as your top D pairing is too much. I really do. I think that if I don't know who's out there, I don't know who's available, I don't know how you make it work. You do have some prospects, you have limited draft picks, but if there is a top defenseman out there that needs to be moved, I would be calling immediately, because I think they cannot win unless they slot those guys down. They need an elite defenseman. They really do. I don't know how you get it, but they need to get something as close to that as possible, in my opinion.
That's why I think I agree with you, but those guys don't grow on trees, and I think your best option, the Brandon Saad is a good example, because it's relevant, and I know they can't get him now, but that was a guy who has NHL pedigree, who scored 20 plus goals, and you could inject into your lineup, and he's a veteran, and he could have made a difference. Like, they need to go and get a guy like that to add to their, because I think it's much more likely this season that they'll be able to get someone to add up front than they will to the blue line. And then in the off season, you go and see if you can sign or trade or whatever for another high end blue liner.
I would, like, if I could just have a world where I could just give the Columbus Blue Jackets Mitch Marner and they can give us Zach Werenski, like, that would be my ideal scenario. Like, they are just, like, that is the type of player. If they had that type of player on their back end, I would be so much more confident in a first round series against anybody. I just think they are missing that. I know Morgan Riley's supposed to be that guy, but he's not, and he's proven that he's not that guy. And he's a top 4 defenseman, but he's just not the elite defenseman that everyone thought he was going to be when he was drafted. I think they just need it so badly. They're just missing a guy back there.
Yep. All right, buddy. We've gone just about 40 minutes. It's one of those episodes where, like, I'm getting on and I'm like, all I want to do today is just vent, and, like, how long is this going to go? And boom, before you know it, it's 40 minutes gone.
Well, there's good and bad. There's good and bad. Like, they have great goaltending. I like what McMahon's turned into. I like what Knies has turned into. I think, like, Nick Robertson has been okay. Like, I don't know. There's some good stuff happening, but then you also look at the standings, and they've kind of pissed away the division here, and they're lacking a little bit of depth. They need another forward. I think they need another defenseman. So I don't know, man. They got to stay healthy.
So 3 games left before the Four Nations face-off. Tuesday in Calgary, 9 p.m. start. What'd you make of the Oilers, like Draisaitl and McDavid taking some shots about the 5 p.m. start in McDavid said something along the lines of, "Oh, they come into our building and we got to start 2 hours early, but that's okay. We love having the Leafs and all their elite talent in here." And then Draisaitl made a comment in the pregame last night where he was like, "Anything for the Leafs, man. We'll start 2 hours early."
Well, cry me a river.
I thought that was actually kind of fun. Get the rivalry flowing.
Just cry me a river. Like, what? Of course they want to do that. Why would the broadcast potentially cut viewers away by starting at 10 o'clock? Like, I don't. And honestly, another thing too that we didn't bring up, it's quite, even though the Oilers, I thought, dominated most of that game, it's quite shocking how the Leafs just kind of own them.
Yeah.
Like, they've owned them in this whole era. Like, they've absolutely owned them.
Yeah. Calgary on Tuesday, Seattle on Thursday, a 9 p.m. start in Calgary, a 10 p.m. start in Seattle, and then next Saturday in Vancouver. The Vancouver Canucks are another one of these teams like the Ottawa Senators or Buffalo Sabres or whatever, where it doesn't matter how their season is going. They just always beat the Leafs. They always play well against the Leafs.
But the Canucks, man, what a situation over there, man. Jesus
Dude,
Christ.
I cannot... Obviously, like, we're not in Vancouver. I'm not in the weeds on this as much as some other people are, but, like, we're 2 grown-ass men. We're 2 adult men. And we can't settle our differences to the point that we have to part with a superstar in JT Miller because him and Elias Pettersson cannot get along. Like, what is this? Like, is this the Real Housewives? Like, what is this? Like,
what a
you're
joke.
You're 2 professional athletes paid absurd amounts of money. Fucking figure it out, boys.
Yeah,
like,
shocking.
What are we doing?
Oh yeah, I feel bad for Canucks fan. Like that is just a situation you do not want to have for the team you're cheering for, man. What
is this? Is this a reality show on it? Like, what is this? Like, this is ridiculous.
And then even just like the way the organization's handled it, like Jimmy Rutherford coming out and he's kind of being messy, and it's just like, just not a great situation.
Well, there's all these rumors. Man. There's all these rumors too that Rick Tocchet at the end of the season is going to be like, thanks, but no thanks. And there's a guy
he'll be able to go anywhere.
Yeah, he hits the coaching market. He'll have like that guy. He's the definition of he'll be out of work for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, buddy. We'll be back next Sunday after the Leafs play the Canucks on Saturday night, and then that's the last game ahead of the Four Nations face-off. So next Sunday, when we get on here, I will have the schedule prepared of the episodes we'll be doing for the Four Nations face-off. Canada is guaranteed to play 3 games. Depending on the schedule for Ryan and I, we might do the episodes immediately after the game. We might do them the next day. That's what we're going to figure out and we're going to announce next weekend. Hit the like and subscribe button below if you'd like to join us for that. We spent this whole episode kind of ranting and raving about the state of the Leafs, so I'm actually kind of looking forward to the Four Nations to just sort of unplug myself from Leaf mode a little bit and watch something different.
Yeah.
Because Craig Berube says we can't watch anything different any night. Hit the like and subscribe button below. If you're listening to the audio version, do the same.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. We will see you guys next weekend.